everyone, and welcome back to another action-packed episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I am your host, Brent Piles, and with me, as always, is my co-host from across the ocean and from the future. Folks, he's the ballroom brawling, disco dancing, dynamite stretching, intercontinental playboy. Folks, he's more over than stopping your own teammate from scoring a goal. He is at G. Russell Glenn Abbott. Glenn, how you doing?
I can't understand how people can be critical of Arsenal when they've played Liverpool, even by religion, and then played Chelsea and outplayed them and still only got 2 points out of it.
I mean, I think it's because we pretty much gave them away. I think that's why people might be. Because we definitely should have won both.
Yeah.
And then we were a foot away, a tap of a foot away from Kai Havertz putting the last kick of the game in the back of the net. Because if Trossard doesn't get his foot off that.
I was going to say, Trossard doesn't do a great defensive job.
Yeah, on his own guy.
As I was about to say, on a more positive note, you watched it live. I watched it after with the highlights. What I said is that the Arsenal ladies last night looked like the Arsenal ladies and not like a team that Jonas Enderville had thrown together.
Yeah, I mean, ever since they got rid of him, they have seemed to have started playing the way you would expect them to play, didn't they?
They have. And 4-0 away to Juventus is an amazing result.
Yeah, because it's not like they're playing, they're playing in the Champions League against, it's the Champions League. So, only the best of the best. And
that's right.
I know that when Van de Vol, or however the fuck you say his name, was the coach, they were getting embarrassed. They got embarrassed by Bayern Munich 4-1. And he just didn't seem to have any idea tactically what to do with the team. He didn't seem to have any continuity with his selections. It was always erratic. I know that the men's team and Arteta move some stuff around, but for the most part, we have the same starters. I mean, sometimes we'll move in Trossard instead of someone, but for the most part, when everybody's healthy, we always have the same team. And he never seemed to ever do that. And so I was always puzzled by his team selections every time he came out, every time we played.
And even the substitution she made last night made an impact on the game.
Yeah, immediately came in and put. Yeah, she immediately came in and scored. So yeah, I mean, and then they keep saying how they're looking for a full-time manager. I would say that she's doing pretty well, and we should just stick with her.
That's what they said on the BBC. She's passed the interview.
Yeah, I would say she's more than proved that she can handle the team. I mean, obviously the squad has respect for her. She's got respect among the ladies, so I don't see any reason why you should bring anybody else in. I think this is the perfect thing to do and just keep this ball rolling. You know what I mean?
That's right. As long as she wants it, then they should just give it to her.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you there, Glenn. But yeah, so that's the football talk. We forgot to do the intro. If that's okay, I'll just chop one in from the other one.
Okie. The other thing, before we start tonight's proceedings, is I've got an announcement. I've already told you sort of off air, but as the listener, I don't know how many we get, but may know, is that every month we pick a different pay-per-view to watch. Like you did last month, it's my turn this month. And I've decided that we are going to do NXT UK Takeover Cardiff for this month's pay-per-view.
Yay! I'm excited for some NXT UK. I sure do miss it. I think I messaged you the other day and said, hey, remember NXT UK?
I know you do. That's why I picked it. I played it. Yeah. And as I said, I can remember being at home and actually watching it on the TV. I had it on the TV, I don't know how I did. And leaping around the room like Arsenal had scored when, spoiler alert, Flash Morgan Webster won the tag team titles at home in Cardiff. And I've known Flash for quite a while. It sort of just made me chuffed to bits.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had that feeling because I don't know anybody who became a wrestler. But I imagine that you're always going to feel some goodness. Like even if you've just watched somebody on TV for a long time, you're going to feel sort of pride or a sense of something inside of you if you watch somebody on TV for a long time. But if you know them, I can only imagine what that feels like. It's probably it's a whole nother different feeling than just watching someone on TV when you know them personally. I bet that's just an amazing feeling.
So yeah, like I actually watched the Hardy's return at WrestleMania with him after a show that he'd been on.
WrestleMania 33.
That was the one.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. I don't believe I've ever watched that show before, so it's all going to be brand new to me.
No. Well, yeah, because it would have been before your time of even coming on to a Piece of Business, wouldn't it?
That would have been probably way before my time becoming on a Piece of Business. Maybe a year or two before.
Yeah.
So yeah, be on the lookout for that. We will have that coming this way toward the end of November. But yeah, let's get into Glenn. It is the last Raw is War before WrestleMania 14. It is from March 23rd, 1998. We are in the Tucson Convention Center in Tucson, Arizona, which was built in 1971. It is now listed as a historical place and has been since 2015, but it is still open. It has a music hall, a theater, and an arena all inside the convention center. It is still home to the Tucson Roadrunners of the American Hockey League. And this was actually the first Raw to take place at this arena, but then WWF would visit this place every year up until 2016. They have not been back since 2016. This arena was actually used to film the WWF Championship match between Mankind and The Rock, which aired during halftime of Super Bowl 33 in 1999. It was called Halftime Heat, and it was an empty arena match. I don't know if you remember that one.
I don't remember that at all. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it was on an episode of Sunday Night Heat, that they showed during the halftime of the Super Bowl. And I believe Mankind defeats The Rock to become the WWF champion in the empty arena match. That feels like something we might have to watch on this show. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Certainly.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I had forgotten about it until I read it, but I do remember because I remember the Super Bowl. It was the Super Bowl where the Denver Broncos defeated the Atlanta Falcons, and I remember at halftime flipping over to USA and watching the halftime Heat match. But yeah, so that's an interesting note from this arena. A pretty hot start to the show as Stone Cold Steve Austin makes his way down to the ring.
Well, you can't go wrong. If you're starting with Steve Austin spitting promos all over the place, then you can't go wrong. Kevin Kelly makes a wonderful mic stand.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good. I mean, Austin's always a good way to start the show in this area because he's just so hot. Everybody's so behind him. They ask him about what he thinks about what Vince's saying about he doesn't want him to be the WWF champion. He says he can't be molded and he won't be broke. He says Vince McMahon may think he's trash, but he does what he wants when he wants to. He says he has respect for Shawn Michaels as a wrestler, but he's going to have the toughest match of his life. He says that he'll be in the back waiting for DX, drinking some beers, but that brings Sergeant Slaughter out to the ring. Full arms.
We don't see him for weeks, and then he comes and interferes.
Yeah, it's almost like, oh yeah, you're the commissioner, I guess, huh, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it felt too. Yeah, so he comes down and informs Austin that he will wrestle tonight against The Rock, because the WWF owner says so. Austin says he doesn't. He also tells Austin that if he doesn't wrestle The Rock tonight, his title match at WrestleMania will be a non-title match. And if I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, I would have said bullshit because that's not going to sell on fucking pay-per-view.
He just said, I already said yes, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that was the thing. He told him that he would wrestle him, that he didn't care, and then he threw that in on it, and then he just gives Sergeant Slaughter a stunner instead.
He bounced well. Is about the best you could say about that for Sergeant Slaughter taking that stunner.
Well, he can take a stunner 100 times better than Vince can, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely, yeah, because he's a trained wrestler. But even so, it still looked a bit lame until he did the sort of the bounce in the air.
Yeah, it was something. So he stuns. That's got to be like the 5th or 6th time he stuns Sergeant Slaughter. So it's a bad day to be Sergeant Slaughter. If I'm Slaughter, it's like, go out and tell him this. I'm not telling him shit. He's gonna beat me up. You tell him.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
As we go on, that's exactly what happens. Is Sergeant Slaughter becomes less and less relevant. Mr. McMahon takes over, really.
Yeah, he'll finally stop actually coming out at all. He'll just be. He actually is one of the Stooges for a little while, but then he kind of fades into the background. It's just Briscoe and Patterson after that. But we'll get into that, I'm sure, as we go along here. The first match of the evening is Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie, and they are going to be taking on the Quebecers, but this wasn't about the match, was it?
No, it certainly wasn't. This was all about, and JR kept on and on and on about a dumpster match at WrestleMania with the New Age Outlaws, total gifts against Cactus and Chainsaw. And he went on and on and on about it.
He did talk about it a lot. The Outlaws come out onto the ramp. They got a dumpster with them. They're also dressed in tuxedos. They've got some champagne and a couple of blow-up dolls that are dressed like Cactus Jack and Chainsaw. So I was really confused by I didn't understand. Are they on a date with Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie? I didn't get it.
No, I didn't get it either. I couldn't understand what it was all about. And all it did was it detracted from the match, which probably wouldn't have been a bad match if it had actually been allowed to kill one another.
Yeah, no, probably not, because I know I say a lot of shit about, I don't know why the Quebecers are on my TV in 1998, but they are serviceable wrestlers, and they do have good matches when we do see them, even if it is only for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Very shortly after the match starts, the New Age Outlaws hit the ring. They smash Chainsaw Charlie over the head with the card table they had. They give Cactus Jack a spike pile driver on a chair. I mean, the match wasn't really anything, but it was a cool way to sort of build on build on the match that's going to happen at WrestleMania. So I can't really say this was bad or ugly. So I would say it was good.
I think this sums up most of the show. Really, is that everything is building towards WrestleMania. And that's all you really want from a go-home show, really.
Yeah, I mean, in our time of watching 97 and 98 wrestling, 1998 WWE, we don't see a whole lot of very good go-home shows. And this is definitely an exception to a rule. And not because it had, great matches or anything like that, but it told good stories, and it built on most of the matches, everything that was on this show built towards a match at WrestleMania, and so that was definitely a very good thing.
Yep.
And I was quite pleasantly surprised.
And then they go to the Slam of the Week, which I go back 2 weeks ago to Shawn Michaels giving Steve Austin Sweet Chin Music. We sort of it's the object of the Slam of the Week when your show something happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, more like the Slam of the Weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no.
Again, I can understand why they're doing it, because they're building the stories between Stone Cold and HBK.
Yeah, and I don't think Stone Cold or Austin were on the show last week, were they?
No, they weren't.
So
that's why it was such a bloody disaster.
Yeah, that's why last week's show was so awful. Yeah. We then see Tennessee Lee, who's going to bring out the world's greatest entertainer, singer, and wrestler, Jeff Jarrett, who's riding a horse again.
Riding a horse. And
he'll be taking on the undefeated Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman. This was very sloppy and off to me. I don't know about for you.
Yeah. This is not. It's not good, but not bad. But it was definitely ugly. And it even started with Blackman's entrance, where he has the glow sticks that he uses like nunchucks, doesn't he, normally?
Yeah.
But they didn't even glow, and he just sort of threw them down. He looked at them and just chucked them away because they didn't work.
Somebody must not have sprayed them with the illuminating spray or some shit.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And basically, You could see the disgust in his face before he even got to the ring, and you think, this is not going to go well.
And it didn't.
And it did.
Yeah, like I know Blackman's fairly new on the scene in the WWF at this time, and I don't know, maybe him and Jeff had some bad chemistry in the ring or something, but yeah, everything about this felt off. Even the finish was weird. Blackman was on the middle rope with Jarrett, like on his back, I think, and then Tennessee Lee grabs his foot, which causes Blackman to fall. Jarrett falls on top of him, gets the 3 count because Tennessee Lee's like holding his foot. Another referee comes in and tries to like tell the other ref what happens, but Tennessee Lee just pushes Steve Blackman to the referee, knocking him down. And and like Steve Blackman at this point is undefeated, and they broke his undefeated streak with this weird shit. It was just so strange.
Yeah. The only thing I can say for it in mitigation is that looking through the notes earlier on of this, is that this is the start. This is not leading to something at WrestleMania, but post WrestleMania of a 2-month feud between Jarrett and Blackman, and we'll have to see how that goes.
Oh, I'm sure that's the entire reason why anyone
over the 2 months.
I'm sure that's the reason why anyone would tune into 1998 WWF is to see the budding feud between Jeff Jarrett and Steve Blackman.
Yeah. And whether at any point Jeff Jarrett's going to fall off that horse.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm waiting for the horse to just take a big shit on the rampway. That's what I'm waiting for. Because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah.
As a man who's lived in Nebraska most of my life and been to many fairs where I've seen a horse shitting in the road, yes. I just want a horse to see a shit. Yeah, that's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. Anyway, what were you going to say?
I've been to football matches the same. And back in the day when they used to have a mounted horsemen, mounted policemen.
Yeah, those were the days. Yeah.
Football matches. Those were the days. Yeah, you never knew when holding it. Back to the main point of this whole show is we see Generation X and Mike Tyson being in a limousine.
Yep, they pull up in a limo. It's not really a whole lot. They're just sort of walking into the building, but they are here, and they do have Mike Tyson with them. So we then get a recap of what happened last week between The Undertaker and Kane. We then hear a promo from The Undertaker at the gravesite of his parents. He talks about being at a crossroads, calls his own brother the devil. He asks for forgiveness for having to fight his own brother because it's something that must be done. We go to a commercial and come back, and then Kane and Paul Bearer make their way down to the ring. So 2 back-to-back segments for this. And what did you think about this thing between Paul Bearer and Kane out here showing Kane's powers?
This is after such a good promo from The Undertaker, I can understand how they're showing Kane to be on the spooky level of The Undertaker, but they took it too far, really. It did do a lot.
I didn't think they needed to set the guy on fire.
That was the point that they overstepped the mark, shall we say. I found it quite funny when he set the announce table on fire, but after that, it was a bit much.
Yeah, like I got the whole striking the desk with lightning or whatever, and then like the lighting rig or whatever. But yeah, like the lighting the person on fire took it a little bit too far for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kane's like pointing at stuff and taking stuff out. He does the announce desk, some of the lighting rigs. He sets fucking some poor camera guy on fire. He talks about how it's the Undertaker. Paul Bearer talks about the Undertaker's fault that his parents are dead, that his brother was locked up for 20 years. He shows us one more thing before he leaves, and a strikeable thing hits a crew member, setting him on fire. Yeah, I don't know. I guess if you look at this, I guess you'd have to say it was a good segment because they're building toward a match at WrestleMania. But like we said, maybe just don't set the guy on fire.
Yeah, it was a bit hokey. It was good but hokey.
Yeah, I think hokey's the best way to describe it. Yeah, a little bit too hokey for me. And even for you, and you usually like this hokey shit one.
Yeah. The way the guy caught on fire didn't just drop and roll, but staggered back to the prepared grill, and then they concentrated too long on other people putting him out and all the rest of it. It just went on too long, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I agree. It was very strange. It was really strange.
Yeah.
We then get another
strange.
Yeah, speaking of strange,
yes,
it's DOA Skull and 8 Ball taking on the new Midnight Express, which this is their in-ring debut. I know people have been waiting for bated breath for this. I thought it was funny when they get in the ring, Michael Cole says, "This is just a recreation of the old Midnight Express." Wow, Cole, nothing gets by you.
There's Jim Cole there and a team called the Midnight Express. Of course it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what it is. Wow. Okay. Wow, you're a real genius there, Michael Cole.
Yeah, that is sports journalism at its best.
Yeah, it really is. And this was all just to build to the tag team battle royal at WrestleMania, because Headbangers come out here, Rock and Roll Express come out here, a bunch of fucking teams come down here, and eventually it turns into a big brouhaha in the ring.
Yeah, there's not a lot you can say about it apart from the fact that it gave the people in that arena a glimpse of what the battle royal is going to be.
Yeah, and I mean, at least they tried to do something to build towards a battle royal, because usually battle royals don't have a build to them. They're just kind of thrown in there. So I guess that's something. And this battle royal has like an actual substance to it. If you win the battle royal, you get a tag team match the next night on Raw, as opposed to you like winning a trophy isn't enough of a reason to care about winning a battle royal, in my opinion. And I don't think it's going to make any fans care about it either. So I think it's good that you put a title shot on the line. That way people will actually watch and give a shit about the battle royal. So, and which, of course, us knowing what happens in the battle royal, it's really going to be a cool moment, because they bring back a team and sort of give them a new feel, even though it doesn't really work out for them in the end. But we'll talk about that more next week when we review WrestleMania 14.
Yep.
But then they kick off the second hour with DX and Mike Tyson coming out. Triple H talks about they show footage of Triple H winning the European Championship from Owen Hart last week.
And it still doesn't look any better this week.
Yeah, which we weren't fans of, and the recap of it didn't make me any more of a fan of it.
No.
We do find out that at their rematch at WrestleMania, China will be handcuffed to Sergeant Slaughter at ringside. So that's something.
I love it won't matter. The China is going to be handcuffed to the chin.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. They then found some.
This also proved that.
Go ahead.
I was gonna just be say that the people. Where are we? We're in
Tucson, Arizona.
I have to go back. Tucson, Arizona, and this arena, they need an exterminator. Because there were so many rats in that crowd, and they got the queen rat with DX on her chest.
They sure did. That lady looked like a mean biker chick, didn't she?
She said, well, she looked something, that's for sure.
Well, okay, this is the word they use. This is the word they use, not the word I'm using. They called her a skank.
Yes.
That's what they call her.
Yeah, if you look that up in a dictionary, that is probably the picture you will see.
Something like that, probably. Yeah, the weirdest part for me about that whole thing was like the guy trying to hold her back. Like I was like, what is with the guy holding her back? What is that security? Is that her husband, boyfriend? What the fuck is going on with that?
I don't know. She had obviously had a few adult beverages, if not something more stimulating even more. Stimulating even more.
Yeah, she looked. She had a few adult beverages and a few bumps of a certain white substance.
Yes,
that's what she looked like she'd been into that evening.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Shawn Michaels talks about he doesn't care. He calls out Vince McMahon and says he doesn't need another jockstrap around, that he can keep his opinion to himself. And just like Austin doesn't care about what Vince thinks, Shawn Michaels doesn't care either. He says Austin need not worry about Vince, because at WrestleMania he's gonna have to beat the greatest WWF champion of all time. He then asked Tyson some questions like, what's going to happen if Austin gets in your face? I'll knock him out. Who's going to be... Oh, it was so weird when he would ask him, and he would say, you are Heartbreak, I will Heartbreak. Just the way he was saying Heartbreak was really strange.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. Keep him... Yeah. If he's going to talk, keep it short. That's what we said last week. They did.
Yeah, they only gave him a few lines. I mean... This was all in all a pretty good promo. The Triple H thing was a little bit cringy, but I like what Shawn Michaels had to say.
Yeah. Shawn Michaels comparing the Austin McMahon thing like a cat fight. That was pretty good.
Yeah, or how he said they already had one of those going on at WrestleMania. They didn't need another one. Yeah,
didn't need one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of Shawn Michaels' better promos, I thought. It was really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
We then have Farouk taking on Chains. He sends the rest of the nation to shortly after the match starts. The Rock comes out with a chair in his hand. Chains attempted an inside cradle during this match, which may be one of the worst inside cradles I've ever seen. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah, he nearly fell over completely.
Like, I've seen my dog do a better inside cradle on my other dog, and he wasn't looking to do an inside cradle, you know? So,
yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, Farouk's got the match well in hand, but for some reason, The Rock gets in there with the chair. He looks like he wants to hit Change, but Farouk tells him no. And then it looked like The Rock just took it and just walloped Farouk on the top of the head. He's trying to say it was an accident, but it didn't look like an accident.
It did. It certainly didn't look like an accident, and they made that point very clear on commentary too.
Yeah, the rest of the nation comes down and kind of drags Farouk out, and you can see here that it's the beginning of the end for Farouk with the Nation of Domination, as he's going to be excommunicated very soon.
Yeah.
And then, Glenn, it's time for the grudge match that everyone has been waiting for. Former tag team partners now fighting. Bradshaw taking on Barry Windham. Glenn, how excited were you for this one?
Oh, I was ecstatic. This was the highlight of the show for me. Jesus Christ.
Forget Rock versus Austin in the main event. Give me Bradshaw versus
Windham. To be fair to the guys, they're two good hosses, and it was a decent hoss fight. Again, a hokey finish, though. I don't know who's writing this shit, but we might have an idea a bit later.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Because the Rock and Roll Express, for some reason, are just out there. They just come and sat in the crowd.
To fuck with Jim Cornette, I guess.
But they certainly do that. And they managed to distract Barry Windham, who then gets rolled up by Bradshaw. A hoss fight should be either a knockout or a disqualification to win it. It shouldn't be a bloody schoolboy roll up.
Yeah, that was a really, really bad way to end this. And these two, I know we were poking fun and joking about this being a feud, but it is a feud, and they were tag team partners, and now they're having their match that they're supposed to have. This needed to end, in either a DQ, so we moved on to something else, or like a knockdown drag out where someone knocks someone out, and you can say, well, you never pinned me, so we can get another match. It didn't need to end this way because I don't think it added anything to the feud. It just actually took away from it more than it added to it, in my opinion.
It certainly did. Yeah, and mine as well. I agree with you on that one. The ending was just terrible. I've got the new Midnight Express come down and help Windham. The Rock and Roll Express take about 10 minutes to then decide that they're going to save Bradshaw. And
that was another thing too.
The ending was terrible.
They made the Rock and Roll Express look like right morons because they were there, and then all of a sudden it takes them forever to get out there and help Bradshaw, which is strange. They should have just not came at that point because it just made him look worse.
And I just got it written here. That ending was terrible.
That was
if you could put the match in the good section and the ending in the bad section, then I'd split the two. But because of the ending, it has to go in the bad.
Yep, I absolutely agree with you. We then get some sort of ceremony that they're going to give an award to Sable and Sunny for selling a bunch of WWF magazines, but Sunny's not here because she's under the weather.
Under the weather, yeah. I wonder who weather was at that time.
God damn it, Glenn. How are you going to say it? I'm gonna go with. I'm pretty sure the reason why they didn't want her out there is because Luna was gonna come out there, and they didn't want to have Sunny out there too. Been weird, but maybe she was in rehab. We don't know. Vince Russo was the one out here to present the award to Sable.
Yes.
Yeah. Eventually, Luna comes down, attacks Sable, starts beating her over the head with the award she was given.
Bloody cheap that was.
Yeah, and then she rips her dress too on the way out, which the King was very excited about.
Because Sable has to show her stockings off.
I mean, that's what she's out there for, right?
Yeah.
I just want to say that that's not Brent Piles, the host of AW iPod, saying that. I'm saying that's WWE in 1998 saying that, not me. I want to clarify. Yeah, so, I mean, like I said, this again is building toward a story at WrestleMania, so I guess we can't say it's all that bad.
Well. I would put it in the ugly column.
And then we go to the main.
As you said, it builds to. Sorry, as you said, it builds to something, so it can't go in the bad. But it certainly wasn't good, so it has to go in the ugly.
Yeah, I guess that is fair. That's fair. The main event of the evening is going to be the main event of a lot of shows going forward in the future. Mm-hmm. It is The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. They let us know by showing that DX is in their locker room watching the match. So DX and Mike Tyson are still in the building. I mean, this was probably the best match of the night, and they got a lot of time.
It was good that they showed that DX was out the back, that they weren't lurking around on the ramp or playing around in the crowd or ringside. They knew exactly where they were, and they were just watching what's going on.
Yeah, that was good, definitely. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. And I have him sitting out by ringside in like a weird manner, like fucking the Rock and Roll Express. Yeah. I liked when Austin he like beat up Mark Henry on the outside too. The Nation tries to surround him, so he grabs a chair, but the Rock attacks him from behind.
You know, last week you were talking about when Sable came out and called Luna a bitch. And our wrestling fans love the word bitch.
Yeah.
They also react the same way he flips off the Rock, gives him the fingers.
Yeah, people love that too. I think it's just wrestling fans. Yeah. Anytime there's their curse word or some sort of or a gesture that's supposed to be, that you're not supposed to be doing on TV, we're gonna pop because I don't know why, we're just weirdos.
Yeah.
I can't explain us. Don't make me try.
This is a good match. This was a good match. It wasn't one of their better ones because there will be better ones down the line. But for what it was and what it was doing, this was pretty good. And the fact that Austin took out the whole of the Nation single-handedly, Austin avoids the people's elbow, gets a comeback, gets a stunner, and gets a clean win.
Yeah,
which for a Nation of Domination match, and be a Rock match is amazing.
Yeah, that never happens. After the match, DX comes out on the ramp. Shawn Michaels tells Austin he's turned his lights out 2 weeks in a row, and at WrestleMania he's going to turn his lights out one last time. Austin's inviting Austin to come down to the ring, inviting HBK to come down to the ring, and he starts to, but then Triple H kind of gets in between him. And like you messaged me this morning after watching it, this is how you do a go-home show. This is how you end a show to build to a main event. This is how you do it.
Yeah, and I applauded that at the end. It was a clean finish. The two antagonists at what is going to be the main event of WrestleMania, they didn't come to fisticuffs or anything. It was all implied. It was a perfect ending to this go-home show.
And also, you didn't have, like, both guys left standing tall. So you couldn't even have that wrestling thing where you go, oh, that guy's definitely going to win because that person was standing tall. So they still even left everything up in the air.
That's right.
Really well done. Really good episode of Raw. I'm giving it 2 thumbs up. It's got to get 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up from me as well.
I have NXT on the TV while I'm doing this, and I haven't seen Fallon Henley in a while since she turned heel, and boy, she makes heel look good, doesn't she? Anyway, the television ratings for this week, Glenn. We're back to head-to-head. It was not head-to-head last week. WWE did a 3.57, which is slightly down from the 3.60 they did the last time we were head-to-head, and WCW did a 4.64, so still beat them by more than a full point. But I have a feeling things are going to be turning around pretty soon. Glenn, do you want to hear the matches that we missed on Nitro since we watched Raw?
Just before we do that, I've got a rundown of what we will be watching next week. I've got all the finalised WrestleMania matches here if you want to hear what we will be watching next week.
Absolutely. Give me the card.
We've got WWF Championship match between Shawn Michaels, the champion, versus Steve Austin with Mike Tyson as guest enforcer. Intercontinental Championship match, The Rock champion versus Ken Shamrock. And if The Rock is disqualified, he loses the title, which I love that idea. Again, it's not playing into the nation's hands.
Yep.
WWF Tag Team Championship dumpster match between the New Age Outlaws, the champions, and Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. New Championship match, Triple H champion versus Bret Hart, with Chyna handcuffed at ringside. The mixed tag match, Mark Miro and Sable versus the artist formerly known as Goldust and Luna Vachon. WWF Light Heavyweight Championship match, Taka Michinoku versus Aguirre. Now, why does that scream that that's going to have bloody Brian Christopher involved?
Glenn, I remember that match, and I can assure you that Brian Christopher is not involved. So,
that's all right then.
Rest assured.
And a 15-team tag match.
Battle Royal.
Tag team Battle Royal.
Yeah, it's not just 15 teams lined up around the ring tagging each other in because that would be a disaster.
Yeah, no, it's a 15-team tag Battle Royal.
The funny thing about that light heavyweight title match, Glenn, is like they haven't promoted that at all.
No, they haven't, have they? They've just forgotten about them.
I mean, I remember Taka Michinoku like teaming with Aguilar like 3 weeks ago, but they never said a word about it. So
no.
Anyway, but yeah, on this episode of Nitro, the opening match was the Ultimo Dragon defeated Chavo Guerrero. Scott Steiner defeated Dwayne Bloom. Psychosis defeated Lodi. Sting defeated Diamond Dallas Page. Lex Luger defeated Rick Fuller. Eddie Guerrero defeated Kaz Hayashi. Chris Jericho successfully defended the Cruiserweight Championship against Lenny Lane. The Giant defeated Hollywood Hogan and Kevin Nash in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Booker T and Chris Benoit wrestled to a time limit draw. The British Bulldog defeated Kurt Hennig. Bill Goldberg defeated the Renegade, and in the main event, Randy Savage wrestled Roddy Piper to a no contest.
1998, and the main event is just Macho Man versus Roddy Piper. Wonderful.
And it didn't even have a finish, pal. So there you have it. I'm glad I watched Raw. I don't know about you.
Oh, definitely.
But there you have it. That is it. That's all for this week. Glenn, who do you want to plug before we get out of here?
I'm booking the territory, first and last of wrestling with their side projects. Stacking the Territory, Road to WrestleMania. The Road to Wembley, 1981, between Giant Haystacks and Big Daddy, the most watched TV wrestling match ever, 80 million viewers. Their side projects are being the Elite Gator Golf. I believe they're just about to go into Series 3 of that at the moment, as we speak. And I'm booking the Tankatory, the Life and Times of Tank Abbott. And of course,
the Doctor Who podcast with Danny and Say. It's on SJP World Media.
And DDT Wrestling with DC and Doc. That's my lot.
Give all fine people and friends a follow and a listen. And give the other member of our podcast team, the mayor of Canton, a follow. He does a meal with the mayor every Wednesday where he tries different fast food items to let you know if they're good enough for you to try or if you should not waste your time whatsoever. So make sure you check that out. And check out everything that's going on over at SportsWire Radio and give our buddy Thomas Bryce a follow on all social media platforms. Just search Thomas B. Rice and hit that follow button and check out his website, sportswireradio.org, and hit that listen live button in here. Many great shows, including ours. And, of course, check out everything that we've got going on. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Check out I Don't Know Shit, the Life and Times of Psycho Sid. He is finished up in the World Wrestling Federation and will make his way to Extreme Championship Wrestling this week. Check that out. And that is... Oh, and, of course, part 2 of... our Survivor Series 1990 watch along. It's just me and the mayor this week. Glenn wasn't able to join us, but that will be out on Sunday. So make sure you check all that out. And that's it. That is all for us this week. There is only thing left to say, and that is for Glenn to say goodbye.
Goodbye.